Welcome to the Waves of Change podcast, where we aim to inspire the listener to awaken to their purpose and take the action required to live life on their own terms. My name is Darragh, confidence and mindset coach, speaker, entrepreneur, and humanitarian. I will be sitting down with creators from all walks of life who grew through the waves of change in their lives to be making the impact in the world they are today. We acknowledge the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation as the traditional custodians of the country we are meeting on today. We recognise their continuing connection to the land and the waters and thank them for protecting this coastline and its ecosystem since time began. We pay our respects to elders past and present and extend that respect to all First Nations people who will listen today, past, present, and future, might I add. And we will also drop in with Casey's bio. Casey is an embodied coach specializing in helping women unlock their full potential in both their business and relationships. Her signature programs include Undone, The Sovereign Queen, and The Embodied Woman. Casey has worked with hundreds of women all over the world, transforming both their careers and relationships. Her work dives into principle of everything touches everything and allows you to embody the full expression of we get to have it all. We understand her understanding of the human mind and its sabotage strategies allow her to use fast, tactical approaches, hypnotic activations, and thought provoking activities to ensure her clients succeed quickly. She she does this by connecting them back to source and showing them how to work with energy to remove any obstacles in their way. Casey combines both the human and primitive instincts and spiritual world to show us the blind spots of what we fail to see in our relationships, business, and life to master the alchemy of the source within. Casey!
I've got to say, my bio sounds pretty sexy coming from your accent.
You are welcome. I may just have to read that one back to you in a private message. What's that on Facebook Messenger so you can keep it?
I'll snip the recording of this one.
How are you getting on?
I am good. I'm really good. I've just had my first full night's, well, almost full night's sleep. Bobby woke up once last night, which that is huge considering, we haven't had a full night's sleep in 9 whole months. So I'm very excited about that.
Oh my God, that's incredible. Is he starting to what tell the guests what his name is and
Yeah,
your
so
beautiful king?
my son's name is Tiaraki. So back with his Māori heritage. So my partner chose his name. I gave him the option of that when we were conceiving, saying, like this is your firstborn, you decide what his name is as part of your lineage type thing. And yeah, that it just came through and it was so clear and everything. Like we did not choose that name. Bobby chose that name for himself. So yeah.
Wow. Does it have a meaning?
Yeah, so it means the leader.
Oh wow.
Mm.
Wow. And can you quickly touch on your beautiful partner's name and his background?
Yeah, so my partner's name is Urbane. Now, he is also a breathwork, well, I'm not a breathwork facilitator, I'm a coach, but he's a breathwork facilitator, a coach, and he has dabbled in all realms of sport, especially in the rugby league space. But yeah, he was in the construction industry for quite some time and eventually moved into coaching and playing in his magic as well. So we work alongside each other in a lot of our spaces and it's quite beautiful actually. So yeah, we've got quite a special little thing going on. It's pretty special.
Yeah, that's really cool. That's a road me and Saoirse are yet to cross. It's a dream of ours,
Yeah.
though we operate differently. So it's like It's,
Oh, yeah, you
uh,
got to learn how to get
we've
it
got
like so it actually works.
we're both literally the same. What is a fire with fire? So the same elements. She's fire
Right.
and I'm fire. So
Mm.
it's it's interesting. It's interesting. There's a lot of obstacles there. Um, but anyways, let's get back to you. So can you give us a little bit about your story? Where you grew up and yeah, what was life like for you, growing up?
Yeah. So my life as a child, teenager, like up till about the age of 5 was quite normal. My parents were together, everything was great. And then when I
Just
turned 5, we found out that everything was not so great. It came through the cracks that my father had been cheating on my mum. There was drugs involved. There was all this stuff that happened. So we moved towns, and when we moved towns, it just like unfolded massively, like to say in the least. So my parents went down quite a heavy drug spiral, and that led to that kind of life. There was domestic violence, there was moments of homelessness, there was I think I went to 8 different schools in the matter of 2 years at one point, and it was just this constant, I guess you could say, uncertainty. Like, we didn't have money, we had food paid with from food stamps and from Vinnies. If you're in Australia, you know what I'm talking about.
uh,
But yeah, it was quite full on. And then once I was about 12 years old when my parents sort of shifted gears and they started to clean their act up, to say the least. And they got clean, and by this stage they were both separated. They'd both found new partners, and so those, like, their partners basically became the saviors, I guess you could say,
mm-hmm,
for
mm-hmm.
their relationships, which was really beautiful in itself. And then so from that moment on, it was like my childhood kind of went back to normal, like as if none of that had happened. And so for about the next couple of years, I just sort of squashed it down, didn't have anything to worry about, didn't have any stresses. I thought my life was just normal. And about when I was 16 years old, we decided to move back to our hometown. I would have been just before 16, and long story short, I didn't want to move back to that hometown. I wanted to stay where my friends were and where I was cool. So I actually moved out of home. Yeah, I moved out at home at 16 with my mother's blessing. Like, it wasn't on bad terms or anything like that. And it was with a friend and her family. I moved in with them for about 6 months, and then eventually I got my own place. And so I worked at KFC and finished my schooling. Anyway, in that process, I had a critical asthma attack, which
Mm.
led me in ICU for 10 days. I was on life support for 3 days, and I had to pretty much come
Oh.
home and be with my family. So up until about 18, my life was really quite full on. It was quite hectic. And then yeah, so I was at the time I was applying to join the military, and
Mm-hmm.
because of that, they were like, no, you can't join, you're not fit for duty. And so I just kept reapplying. And eventually I got in. And so I spent about 18 months in the Air Force. But then after about 18 months, I hurt my back really badly, like in the first 3 months of being in, while I was in recruits. And I tried to tough it out. I didn't want people to know I was the weak one at the time. I had the stoic mask on, like you would not believe. And so that happened, and then eventually it just got too strong to be able to. I couldn't walk properly. I was in all kinds of shapes, so I decided to get out. Unconscious to myself at the time, I was also leaving because my partner at the time was being reposted, and I was scared, of course, that he was going to be away from me. So there was all this stuff that was happening unconsciously to me. So anyway, I ended up getting out through the injury with my back, and yeah, because it just threw me in this deep pile of depression, essentially. Like, I'd gained like 15 kilos. I had gone from this incredibly fit woman to this just miserable, walking around like I had no direction, didn't know what I was doing with my life. And it was a couple of years later, I got called fat by that same partner, and I had one of those full on like breakdown moments, like, you know, when you're just like, okay, like I cried about it, and then I sort of was like, okay, well, I get to either stay here or I get to do something about it.
Uh-huh.
And it was just kind of like, oh, like I can't keep being injured. I can't keep using this as a crux. And so I actually went and joined a boot camp. And at the time, I was still not able to walk properly, but they did a lot of boxing and stuff like that. So I just said, look, I don't know what I'll be able to do, but can I just come and join in? And just being in this environment, I think it's going to help me.
Uh-huh.
And he's like, yep, whatever you want. Long story short, I lost so much weight. I became obsessed with it. I ended up becoming a personal trainer and helping him run that boot camp.
Mhm.
And it was just like everything had started falling into place. But the more that I started to find myself again, that relationship began to fall apart. So I ended up moving back to my hometown and separating from him. And yeah, it was just a couple of years of trying to find myself and not knowing, you know, like I knew I wanted to be a personal trainer, but now being in this new space of being single again, not knowing what was going on with my life, I sort of went back into the car industry, which I was in. I worked for BMW, and I sort of stayed there for a couple of years just being comfortable. But there was
Mm.
that ticking in the back of my mind, you know, like that something more has got to come here, something more has got to come.
Mhm.
And then eventually I started my own business again. And as I was sort of doing the both. I was working at BMW and I was working out in my own business. It was muscle art, personal training, and then um, I got side like poached, if you'd call it, like, so another company, Audi Australia, so the AUDI, they came in and they were like, oh, I can see what you're doing with BMW. I want you to work for us. And they gave me like this $30,000 pay rise. I was driving an Audi TT and I was like 23 at this stage. I thought I was absolutely freaking killing it. Like I was on top of my game and I was
The
like,
blonde
sweet.
bombshell in the sports car.
Yeah, I was rocking it, hey. And I thought, yep,
Fit
this would
as
be
fuck.
yeah. I was like, I thought it would be the perfect opportunity to grow my business and do everything. But within 3 months, I was actually fired from there. And just because I said the wrong thing, and I say that in quotation marks because I was defending someone who wasn't in the room. And so I left that role and I thought, well, can I swear on your podcast?
You can say what the fuck you want.
I was like, well,
There's been a lot of fucking insane conversations already. I don't know whether it's gonna
good.
get banned before it hits 10 fucking 10th episode, but we'll see.
I was gonna say because you know me, I swear,
Yeah,
right?
just be yourself, man.
Yeah, but I
Girl.
was like, fuck, like I don't trust employers anymore. I don't trust my life in the hands of anyone else. So I was
Mm-hmm.
like, all right, I'm gonna just build my business. And so I worked at coffee shops, I worked at the gym, I did all these other things around to get my business successful and to pay the bills while it was building.
Mm-hmm.
And eventually I turned my business into a six-figure business. So,
Mm.
however, I thought I had it all figured out and I started seeing that, you know, in order to go to the next level, I needed to get some business coaching. I needed to understand what was really going on, right?
Quickly before you carry on, what
Mm.
was that first business?
Personal training. So,
Personal training.
yeah, I was a personal trainer. I had my own company.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so yeah, and then I thought I was on top of it. Thought I had it all sorted. So started seeing these gaps in the clients that came in, and I was noticing that, you know, any person can train, any person can exercise, any person can do any kind of movement essentially that their body permits. It was their mind that was holding them back. And
Mm-hmm.
it was their trauma, it was their
Love it.
patterns, it was their conditioning. And, you know, I'd started, this is by this stage, I'd been to a few seminars, I'd been listening to Tony Robbins, I'd really started getting into the details of it. And I was like, I'd put it out like the next course I do will be NLP. I know it will be. And literally the next day, I had someone walk in and go, oh my God, Casey, you'll never believe it. I went and did this course on the weekend. It was amazing. And I was like, oh, okay, just tell me what it is. And he's like, it's NLP. And I'm like, just give me the guy's name and number and I'm just going to do it. Because I'd already put the intention out there. I'd understood the law of attraction, how it was working by this stage. Anyway, I went on to do my NLP masters, my master hypnotherapy, like all this stuff to really like lock in the learnings of the unconscious mind. And, you know, from that stage, I moved into coaching. But the real change happened for me was I started working in the feminine leadership space and working with women. And I was like, all right, like this is awesome. Like I'm going to do a course on femininity, like how to step into your best self in 6 weeks. And I was so fresh to the game. Like I was so fresh. And I thought to myself, you know what, I've watched my parents go through domestic violence. I've done the whole kit and caboodle. I feel in my young life, I think I was like 27 by this stage, right? It's like I feel like I've been through more than what 60-year-old women had been through. And so I was like fully committed to this. And every time I design a course or I do something, I always said a prayer and I set an intention and I say, you know, please, Spirit, God, allow me to know exactly what I need to know to show up for these women. Let me like work through me so I can show up powerfully. And I've been doing this for years. And anyway, 3 weeks later, I met the thing that I had called it in that moment. And when I say thing, I mean the man. So in that, I went through a 10-month relationship, which was an absolute whirlwind that completely fucking tore me down. Like I'm talking, ripped every bit of success that I had out from underneath my feet. I ended up in domestic violence. I thought I was going fucking crazy and I did not know what to do next. But the thing was, I was watching it all unfold, knowing what was happening because I was so aware, but I didn't know how to fix it. And I kept trying to fix it. And I was like, but I know how to save him. And I was so caught in the role of being the hero that
so good.
I wasn't even allowing myself to see what I was doing to my own life. And so eventually I left that relationship and I made a commitment with myself that I am not going to get involved with anyone for a whole year. I'm just going to do me, spend time on me, and I'm just going to go all fucking in on me. Like no business work, personal work for me. Anyway, I'd done a couple of courses and one course in particular was online. And there was a few people on that course, you know, that I was like, oh yeah, you're kind of cool. Urbane being one of them. And I was like, oh yeah, you're cool. Anyway, didn't think too much of it, right? Then like 6 months later, we both booked in to go to Tony Robbins. And we were sitting like 2 seats away, like 2 rows away from each other. And we sort of were like, oh, you're from that course. I seen you on that course. And he's like, oh yeah. And
you knew too well. You had your phone number on the back of his chair when he went for the toilet or summer break.
It was just like, you know, do you remember in school when you like liked someone and it was awkward and you just didn't say a word and you're just like my partner's shy at the best of times, right?
Yeah.
And I'd like try and flirt and I'm really out there. Like, so I just intimidated the fucking shit out of him, like to be blunt. Like he was just like sitting there like really like quiet. And I had to laugh because I was just like, I remember saying to one of my girlfriends, I was like, I don't know what it is about him, but I have to know him. I just have to know him. And on the last day, we'd gone through this big process of like, you know, what did your life look like if you continue down the same path? And all I could picture was myself in like a leopard print skirt, sitting at the edge of the bar, like as a cougar, right? Like, facing all these young men. And I was like, I was like, I was attractive, right? Like, and I never had a problem with men. Like, not even being modest when I say it, like, never had an issue. I could get whoever I wanted. The problem was I could never keep them. I could never actually hold a relationship. I was so caught up in my theories around men, even though I was trying to teach this stuff. I was so like, had so many stories about men that just I couldn't break through. And I was like, it was in that moment I decided I just had to stop believing that men were what I thought they were. Like I had to just like get rid of that thought process and just be like, I'm done with that. And 24 hours later, we were on our first date. So I went up to him after that and I was like, I want to know you. And he's like, I want to know you too. And then, yeah,
Yeah.
now
Well,
2 and a bit
what would
years
have
later,
happened if he said no? Would you have kidnapped him or mannapped
probably
him?
would have been a cougar in a bar by now. Like,
Yeah, I was
I don't know.
surprised you didn't put a leopard print skirt on him and drag him out the door.
But yeah, no, like 2 years later, we have a 9-month-old son. So
Mhm,
2 and a bit years later, like it all happened really quick, right? Like we were long distance for 4 months,
mhm,
moved in together, and within like 6 months we were pregnant, and it became like this whirlwind. It was just like the universe just knew. Like once
mhm,
came together, like my business exploded. Like we just started, like both of us had come from this space of like constantly struggling. Like no matter how
mhm,
much money we made, we never had money in the bank. We never had things actually line up and work for us. But then the minute we came together, it was just like boom, 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 like the pieces just started like locking into place on such like a deep level. It was like the universe knew what it was for. And yeah, so now here I am coaching
yeah,
women how to actually step into their power in both their business and their relationships. And like if I would be lying if I said that like we haven't worked through a lot of shit, obviously, like to really get me over those beliefs and to get him trusting women and
mhm.
all those things. Like, but I'm a firm believer like hard conversations create for an easy life. And,
Oh,
that's where
love that.
we started in that. Like, you come out of Tony Robbins on your first date and
Yeah,
suddenly, like, I remember sitting
it's
there.
not like look at the weather, it's sunny. It doesn't work
Yeah,
like
on our
that.
first date, we're sitting across from each other, and I've just looked at him like, "So where do you want to be in 5 years' time?" And he's like,
Jesus Christ, the
and he's
poor
like,
man.
I want to coach, I want to do this, I want to do that. I was like, "Oh yeah, sweet." It's like, what
Oh,
about
so
you?
so it was an interview, not a date. Is that what you're
It was a
saying?
full-on interview. The next question was, "Do you want children?" Like, you know, I myself had never even wanted kids up until that point. But sitting
Mm,
there in front of him, I was just like, hold on a second. If this man doesn't want kids, I'm not down.
yeah,
And
yeah.
And I just turned into it. I'm like, do you want your kids? And he's like, yeah. And I said, good. I said, I'm going to tell you right now that you live in Melbourne. I live in Newcastle. If you're not looking for the same thing that I'm looking for, I'm not going to continue this. I'm not going to pursue it. And he just looked at me and he's like, okay. And I said, so tell me, what are you looking for? And he was like, oh, fuck, you are
Fucking hell.
forward. He was like, he was so forward. And I was just like, what? I was like, okay, all right.
Stop
But he just
it.
looked at me after we had that little chuckle. He looked up at me from under his chin and he just went, I'm looking
Stop.
for a wife. Yeah.
What did
And
he say?
he said, I'm looking for a wife. And it
Ah,
was like, all right, cool. We can get to know each other then. Like, I was like, you don't have to marry me, but at least need to know that you're serious about
yeah.
what you're creating. So yeah, it's been a fun, like, since we've known each other now, like since we've been in each other's spaces, like everything is just fucking
Mm-hmm.
catapulted like crazy. Like you've been with me on my business journey,
Mm-hmm.
obviously.
Mm-hmm.
Like I've made a ridiculous amount of money. We have done some huge things. Like we've served over, like through our programs, like there's been about, I don't know off the top of my head because they're all different individuals, but there's been about 150 people walk through our programs. It's just
Mm-hmm.
been incredible. So
And yeah, that's amazing. I'm just laughing. We got the same feeling as well. I met Saoirse at Burning Man really quickly. I met Saoirse at Burning Man, but it was that awkward. Like, I knew I
yeah,
fancied her, but it was a different kind of,
yeah,
I'm not chasing sex here. It's like, what do I say to her? I didn't know what to say to her, and I decided to feel her ass for some reason because I couldn't speak because I was after being partying. But another friend of mine, he's like, "What the fuck are you doing? That's my sister." That like just mates. See, don't fucking touch her. Just protecting her like. But
yeah,
anyways, fast forward 6 months. I hadn't spoken to her not once. Fast forward 6 months. I bumped into her at another festival, which is in Burning Man. Burning Man's in the
yeah,
US.
yeah,
And then I bumped into her in Melbourne at a different festival. And
Oh wow.
within 3 weeks, I gave away everything I own in Melbourne. If it didn't fit in my car, I gave it away and I'd moved to Sydney. And I've been here ever since. That was in 2016, January.
Oh wow.
Um, yeah. So what's it, 22 now? 6 years now. So 2 kids,
That's
6 years.
crazy.
And
Yeah.
again, it's like all of the synchronicities that like the universe knew. I knew, my body knew. It was like
Mm,
there's two things in life that I was absolutely certain about. That was one of them, and the other was
mm,
like choosing this career. Although I
yeah.
wasn't planning, I never had a plan to change anything. But when this showed up, I went to Bridge. I went to Bridge.
Yeah.
With Miriam. I was at Bridge with Miriam, who was another coach of ours, coach friend
Yeah.
of ours, slash healer for anyone
Yeah.
who's listening. But yeah, it was like when I walked out of um, that course on, I think it was Sunday. That was the first one, and then Sunday night I done the extreme straight away. That was in 2017. I
Yeah.
immediately knew, like, I'm doing this. I had like
Mm,
everybody in the world needs to know or have these tools. People are
yeah.
suffering. You know, like a lot of friends of mine had committed suicide, and you know, it's like, why do people like what? I couldn't comprehend how
Mm,
all of this uh was able, like this level of transformation was able to happen in such a short space of time. And
mm.
like a lot of the world don't know about it. I'm like, what's going on here? And I was
Yeah.
like again, my soul knew. I just my head had to catch up. Do you know what I mean? I knew that I was going to do it, and there's a lot of barriers and fears and limiting beliefs and all of that to break through, and my own trauma, my own childhood trauma,
Yeah.
and the fear of what will people think of me?
Oh
Talking
yeah.
talking
That's
about
a big one,
love
hey.
and
I
all of
remember
that.
when I first started in this game, I used to do my little Facebook lives all the time and
Yeah,
I'd call
yeah.
all the time. Oh, you're trying to be like Tony Robbins. And it was like such a thing that I had to like just sit in. Like I really had to sit in like how uncomfortable that was. And
Mhm.
it's so funny now because some of those people have actually hired me like to
Mhm.
work with me. But it's, like you just really have to sit in that like this is fucking uncomfortable. And no matter how confident you get within yourself, you're still gonna hit those
Mm.
moments, you know?
Still today, like all the years, 5 years of training slash embodying slash, going through the absolute shit that it
Mm,
takes internally, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. You go through the ringer, like,
yeah.
um, yeah, it's a crazy one, but I wouldn't change any of it. I love it. And actually, the guest that was on previous to you, like this morning,
Yeah.
um, it's Jeff. Was Jeff. So
Oh
by the
yeah,
time
cool. Yeah.
anybody listens to this, they'll already have heard his episode.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, but we spoke about the difference with coaching and teaching.
Mm,
And one thing we missed on there that I'll mention now is the the importance of coaching is because the answer is already inside of us. There's nothing that we can teach somebody
mm,
that they don't already know. So
yeah.
the idea of coaching is to question those answers out of them, so the realization comes from within. You
100%.
know,
It's
Uh,
that old saying too, the teacher appears when the student is ready.
yeah.
And like, like I remember so clearly I had this conversation with Preston, one of our mentors.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I was trying to get one of the students to really understand a certain principle,
Mm-hmm.
and he just couldn't fucking get it. Like it was so simple, couldn't fucking get it. And I'm just like, what the fuck am I doing wrong here? And Preston's like, case, some people are going to take 7 or 8 times just to hear the one thing. And it
Mm-hmm.
might take 7 or 8 different people. And on the eighth person, it lands because
Mm-hmm.
their soul actually isn't ready for that. And it's
Mm-hmm.
not cracked open enough yet. And as soon
Mm-hmm.
as he said that, I was just like, holy shit. Like
Mm-hmm.
the amount of times that's happened in my own life where I've like known so much stuff,
Mm-hmm.
and then it finally fucking lands. Like,
Mm.
like
And yeah,
I
go
was gonna
ahead.
say, like the energetics of money, for example,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like we talk about, like I hear a lot of coaches talk about they want big money and they want big wealth and they want this and they want that and blah blah blah, all the things, right? And then it's not until they actually start to clean up their energy around money. And it's like they've been doing the affirmations, they've been doing all this stuff, they've been doing everything for so long. But then suddenly one day something hits where they've realized how messy they've been in it. Like, so
Mm.
for example, it might be like just the way that they're mistreating money, or like an unconscious story that they've picked up from their father about their father's belief systems. And they're like, oh, there it is. Like, it's absolutely crazy, like how long it can take for some people to be ready to receive the thing that changes their life. And you
Mm-hmm.
can't force that moment. They have to be willing to and open to receive it for themselves. So,
Mm. And
yeah.
that's jackpot. Like the point I was going to make then, it's like, the difference, but not the difference between the teacher. Like, it's a competition. It's definitely not. Um,
Mm.
but you just think of your friends, even for you in those relationships where you had this boyfriend who was fucking wrecking everything. I mean, I'm sure you had your part to play in that. But
Yeah, yeah.
you thinking that you could fix him, and for the listener, everybody, when how many of your friends or your family or anybody have you given advice and they walk out the door and do the complete opposite of what you've just told them not to do?
I've now given those people a name, right? And I can say this because I was this person for a really long time. But these people are the
Same.
assholes, right? They're assholes. They ask and ask and ask and
Assholes.
ask and ask, and they never fucking implement. They're assholes,
Uh,
right? And it's like, but the thing is, though, like, they also need that,
mhm,
right? For, like, I think the one thing, like, and you said it so perfectly, like, there's coaching and then there's teaching, but they both hold such a different space and energy that's required, right? It's
mhm,
just like there's therapy and then there's coaching, two different spaces. Once
mhm.
again, like, I see a lot of controversial stuff around, like, oh, I'm not going to go see a therapist, I'm going to see a coach. And like some people put down opposing industry as to whatever they're in. And like, in truth, like, I feel like there's a space and time for everything,
Of
right?
course.
And
And
it's
they
just about
complement
making
each other too.
100%, 100%. And it's just about making sure that, what space you're in is the space that's going to crack you open the most in that given time to be able to receive what you need. And yeah, that's my view on that
Mm.
one. I think it's
Yeah, 100%. Again, just like, yeah, but just for us to highlight that we already have the answers, every one of us, we
mm,
already have them. And
mm,
another thing is, like, in this world and everything that we've been through a lot together, energetically,
mm,
spiritually, emotionally, all the things. And um, you know, what I love most, no joke, when people are in the breakdown, when they're in the blubbering mess, they're crying their eyes out, they are, pouring their absolute heart and soul out. Um,
mm.
Two reasons. One, because there's no bullshit there. There's no ego. That's
Yeah,
like pure and utter truth.
yeah,
Um, and the second is uh, the breakdown. I see the healing that's happening in
yeah.
that process. So with the breakdown comes the breakthrough. So
Mhm.
whatever that fucking full vulnerable breakdown, snots, tears, whatever it comes through as, but the healing from that leaving the body. So like, it's like it brings me joy. It's
I
I love
think
it. I love it.
Rumi says it the best, where the heart cracks open is where the light can shine in. And
Oh,
I can't
yes.
remember the quote word for word, but it's along those lines. And where the crack is, that's where the light can shine in, I think it is. And it's just perfectly said. I always sum up, like, whenever people are talking into fear and intuition and those things, I'm like, intuition is the voice that goes first, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
Fear is the one that comes in once you've analyzed and you've brought the mind into it and all those sorts of things. But when it comes to that healing process, like 90% of the time, we know what to do. We know where to be. We know where we've got to go. But we're so used to living in fear, we choose that. And we continue to choose that until we're ready to actually listen to that first voice, that voice that's been there the whole time. It's like, you know, when you've like, just say you've been dating someone that you know you shouldn't have dated, and you sit there and you're like, oh, I knew I should have left them way back here. Like I knew it. Like that voice was there way back. And it's like, that's the voice I'm referring to, because so many people dismiss that voice. And then they're like, oh, you know, I wish I had just listened. And there's one thing that I can give every single person on this, listening to this space, is like, when that voice comes up, listen. Like, because it's the same. You're going to hear that voice 6 months again. You're going to hear that voice in 18 months. You're going to hear that voice 5 years down the track. If you don't start listening to it when it starts speaking to you the first time, it will get louder and louder, and it will fuck shit up along the way to make sure you listen to it, right?
Eventually, yeah.
Yeah, it's so like, hello, I'm here. You know, so if you can
Yeah.
hear my baby crying in the background, please excuse that as well.
Little man, is you got a babysitter there or a nanny?
Yeah, my partner's here though. My nanny's
Oh,
not
okay.
she's not working at the moment, but she will be back after
So,
she has some time off. So
yeah,
yeah.
cool. So you said a lot, anyways, in your whole story. So we'll just go right back to the start and you know,
Yeah.
the importance of dealing with what, huh? You know, the importance of dealing with the childhood trauma.
Mm,
Yeah.
yeah. Like for me, I didn't realize that my childhood trauma was the thing that was getting in the way of all my relationships. And it
Mm-hmm.
was getting in the way of me being able to receive money and being able to trust myself. Like I'd put so much, like I was the person who really worked hard. Like I would put all my time, all my energy, I'd give everything I had. Like I had no boundaries whatsoever. And, you know, I just needed people to know that I was there. And at the detriment to myself. You know,
Mm-hmm.
I was constantly burnt out. I was constantly, like, I literally had like injuries all the time because my body was just so battered and broken. And yeah, it took me like once I'd done NLP and then I'd started working with a few healers, I actually realized that my injury in defense, like, of course, it's a very real injury. It happened through pack marching, what ignited it. But
Mm-hmm.
if you actually look at my childhood trauma and having no stability, no like fundamental spaces or places to feel that security and that need, like, and you look at where my back injury was in that root chakra, it like
Mm-hmm.
makes sense. Like that energetic space wasn't there. And this young 18-year-old woman's trying to make it in the world, doesn't trust herself. Suddenly her back explodes on her. I left the
Mm-hmm.
military with stress fractures through my hips. I had L4 and L5 bulging through my back, and I had sacroiliac joint dysfunction. So just to paint a picture, I couldn't walk properly for like 3 years. And
Fuck.
like that in itself, that was just the trauma living in my body. And the ill, like, we can't just dismiss energy. Like it doesn't just go somewhere. We have to give it life.
Mm-hmm.
We have to give it movement. We have to be able to hear it
Give
and
it a
let it be.
release.
Yeah, and until that was happening, I had no respite. And so I worked with therapists. I worked with people all over the space. And like when I was in that depression stage where it was really bad, like I still didn't know at that point, even when I was working with therapists, I had no idea that there was a potential link with any of that stuff. And
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it was really, really big. Obviously, like there's the physical aspect of, yeah, I did get injured in the military. But when you look at the other stuff, like
Uh-huh.
you cannot make this shit up. Like,
Uh-huh.
you know, you look at my lungs, like, so when I was 16 years old and I had that critical asthma attack, I didn't know I had asthma before that moment. Right? I had
Mm-hmm.
bronchitis. I was in the hospital already with bronchitis. Like I'd been in the hospital for about 10 days. Right?
Mm-hmm.
I had the asthma attack in hospital already. So I was very lucky. If they didn't paralyze me, I would have died in that moment. But
What?
if you look though, look at what the lungs hold. They hold grief and they hold sadness. You look at what, as a little girl, I experienced, there was all this trapped emotion that I'd never dealt with. I was 500 kilometers away from my family. I was this little girl trying to prove her way that she could do it. But my body literally almost gave way on it because I was so caught in the I could do it on my own. Like,
Wow.
yeah, these were like some of the biggest lessons I ever had in my life. But this is hindsight that gave me these answers, right? At the time, I
Uh-huh.
had no idea that any of this was happening, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I started, like, once I started learning about energy and what the unconscious mind can actually do and how it can store this energy in your body and trap those emotions and really
Mm.
fuck you up. Like, you don't get clear on this stuff, it
Beautiful.
will fuck you up. And yeah, it wasn't until I got really, really clear on, okay, cool, like, it's time to heal my body, not
Mm-hmm.
just fix it, not just make it work for a little bit. Like, let's heal it, right? And I too went to bridge and extreme with Preston and Alexi, and
Uh-huh.
I kid you not, like, there was this one exercise, and Preston pulled me out in front of everyone, and his
She's a
words to me were,
motherfucker.
yeah, his words to me were, 'cause I decided I was gonna lead. You know, I had the big military experience. I knew how to fucking get shit done. I was like, right, and he's like, "Where the fuck are you leading them, off a cliff?" And I
Oh
was like,
shit.
whoa, like, he's like, people who listen to you, you were there for them, but what about the people who didn't? You were just like, fuck you guys, you go do your own thing. I'm going to focus on the people who listen to me. He goes, you didn't think of the whole unit. You didn't think about the whole team. And it was like in that moment where I was like, holy shit, like, I do that in my body. I did that in my business. I did that everywhere. Like, the bits that
Mm.
were working for me, I would always work with. But the bits that weren't, I would just let it go. And it was such, like, all of these things started coming into place. And yeah, the more and more and more I tapped into my body, I tapped into what I was creating energetically,
Uh-huh.
I was able to really unlock that. And obviously that came with opening up my own feminine space on that, and an actual, like, healing the feminine within myself. But it wasn't the feminine I really needed to heal so
Mm.
much as it was actually the masculine, the part of me that wanted to control, like the wounded masculine, like part of me that was like, I've got to get it fucking right. Like, you know, that was the
Mm-hmm.
bit that I actually needed to, like, pull back into line so the rest of me could flourish. Because this guy over here, the one that wanted to, like, fucking show the world that he was capable, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or that I was capable, was actually stopping anyone from ever really seeing me
Mm-hmm. The
and from myself.
know-it-all.
Yeah, it
No
was
room for
full on.
improvement.
Yeah, so
Mm.
it's interesting. It's a very
Yeah, and
interesting.
yeah, you've covered a lot there. And then also I'll just firstly touch on the importance of, same for me, this trapped trauma that,
Mm,
the way I see the human anatomy, the body,
mm,
is like a walking, talking hard drive. So every
yeah.
single thing that we've experienced, seen, heard, um, caused us pain, trauma, anything in our whole life and the past lives is stored inside this mainframe.
Mm,
And depending on what energy they carry or how much it's been stuffed, like a volcano stuffed with gunpowder, it's like how
yeah.
much of it's been stuffed, like your back gave out, your lungs gave out.
Mm,
So for me, that's what I and the analogy I use of the volcano. How much can you stuff the volcano before it explodes?
mm,
So in regards to these energetic traumas, um can you speak about the importance of somatically, not
yeah.
intellectually, releasing this stuff from the system? So which sort of segues into the next, like, not yeah, the next thing, something else that you said, about Preston saying, where the fuck are you leading them, off a cliff?
Mm,
You've had this group here or listening, and then this one, you're just going to leave them behind and to die or whatever. I think
mm.
I know. I guarantee I know what exercise that was as well, by the way.
Yeah, yeah.
But the point I'm getting at here as well is, in part of the coaching industry, like, we don't operate under rules.
Mm.
So being absolute and telling the whole fucking truth and not being afraid to say the hard thing that your mom won't say, or the, other people in other industries, they won't, like, just go, bam,
Mm.
you were a fucking cunt because you didn't do this. Do you know what I
Mm.
mean? Just tell you
Yeah, yeah,
straight. Tell you straight.
yeah.
So just again, the importance of releasing this trauma that is
Yeah.
stored. So not just releasing it intellectually, but somatically releasing it from
Yeah.
the body.
So when we have an unconscious trauma that's in the mind, our body holds the energetic memory of it, so the somatic response. So it's like you go to pick up a hot coffee, right? If you've burnt yourself on a cup of coffee before, you're going to be weary of that coffee, right? Like that's the somatic response you now have. And
Mm,
it's like,
great
you
analogy.
might see a certain person that you've just recently broke up with and you can't go near them because you're just crying, you're a mess. Like that's the somatic response. And it's really important to know this stuff, right? Because for me, when I first started coaching, I was like, if I know it all, then I'm good. Like it's in the mind, I know what to do, I can figure it all out. Like I know it all, right? But there's such a difference between knowing and embodying, right? And this is
Mm,
something that I've deeply learned over the years, especially since coming into the space of Preston and the likes of some really, really big name coaches, right? Is our mind is only like a small fraction of what actually happens, right? And our body keeps the score. I like to think of the body as the unconscious part of us, right? It's like when you chop a chicken's head off, the body's still fucking running, right? Like it's still doing its thing, right? The body does that,
Okay, see, I love this
right?
one.
Like it's like you just so you have to be able to release the thing. Like so, for example, if you're like see someone and you're like getting angry every time you see them, like that tells me there's still a somatic response in your body to that person. Like you actually haven't healed it. You've just told yourself you're good.
Mm,
You've told yourself.
mm,
But if you're still getting angry, that shit's still there. You're not fucking clear. You're just fooling yourself. And this is where people like actually need to be like, hold on a second. Like, let's get actually clear. Let's get this shit out of my body through different modalities, different meanings. If it's anger, bring it up. What does that do for your body? Does it make you need to move? Does it make you need to scream? Does it make you need to yell? Like you actually need to physically feel it to heal it. If you suppress that
mm.
stuff, right? And you spoke about the volcano. The analogy I like to use is it's like a frozen Coke bottle, right? And if you put a Coke bottle in the freezer for too long, like it bursts everywhere and it fucks your freezer. Like it literally it throws Coke everywhere. If it's a glass bottle, it will shatter everything else.
Mm-hmm.
And this is what our emotions do. They take over everything. Like, and think about like, the days where you've spilt coffee on your shirt, right? You're not angry that you've spilt coffee on your shirt. You're angry about every single scenario that has led to that coffee on your shirt. And if you don't learn how to release your emotions, what you're going to find is that you're literally blowing your cap off over the tiniest little things
Uh-huh.
constantly. And so like I like to speak like when I work with my clients when we do hypnosis and timeline therapy and whatnot, I always talk about we go back to the first emotion because your first emotion is the first time you ever experience this certain thing that's happening in your body, right? So we go there and we talk about what happened that time, right? What did you want to release? What actually did your body need? What was actually happening there? And I do a process with them to release that. But then I also give them like a physical thing to go do as well, right? Because we can move it mentally, but
Uh,
you need something to implement it to make sure it's gone. And that's where I'm really big on making sure that the embodiment piece is there because we can meditate our way all we like. But if you're not
mm-hmm.
actually given scenarios and given situations and given opportunities to stretch yourself under that pretense again, you're not gonna change actively, right?
Mm.
And this is why coaching is different to different modalities because we actually test, tweak, and polish where you're at in your life. We give you scenarios to go in and do this, what happened? Like, how did that feel for you? Like, and
How did the
every
body
week you,
react? How does your
yeah,
mind react? What went
yeah,
on?
yeah, it's
Deeper than
teaching
the
you
mind and the intellect.
100%. It's teaching you your own GPS system, essentially. And if you can't learn to listen to what your unconscious body is doing, if you can't learn to listen to the somatic responses that your body is teaching you, like when you go into that heightened state of like fight or flight mode, like if
Mm-hmm.
you can't register when that's about to happen, like there's some work there that gets to be done. There's some things that get to be challenged in that moment, because if you're suddenly just like flipping your lid at, at like the coffee, or like, someone pauses your favorite show and you're, chucking a shit about it, or, the tiny little thing, someone cuts you off in the car and suddenly your day's ruined, there's other things that are actually
mm.
going on. And
And
this is why this work's so important.
yeah, incredible that you said that, about the guy cutting you out, like just the metaphor. But, when somebody, so I explained this when I used to be doing, like, years ago when I was doing videos, about the rain controlling our emotions.
Mm,
Um, because you see a lot of people, the rain and Monday, right? I
mm,
hate Monday. All of these things, and the same with people that are on holidays. Uh,
mm,
you know, I've got 6 days left. I've only got 6 days left. I'm dreading going back to that job. X, Y, and Z. So the
yeah,
mind is like, be in the holiday. You're on holiday. Be there. You know.
mm,
And then regards to the rain and Monday, like if I was to ask everybody, if would you take 1/7 of your life? So whatever all of I've done the maths on it before in one of the videos, but would you take like 10 years of your life and give it back? Do you know what I mean?
mm,
Do you know? Because you hate Monday. So and then the same with the rain. So this is what swings back to your point, for people, that look at the rain as miserable. Um,
mm,
so instantly when you wake up in the morning, you look out the window, it's miserable. This before you go to work. So you're having one of them days, you make a coffee and then you spill your coffee, and then you go out and you get stuck at the first red light. And then in your mind, have you ever had one of them days where the whole world is against you? Because
yeah,
what?
yeah,
Because it's
tumbles.
because nature
Yeah,
is being nature, and you had an accident with your cup. But no, it's the bridge, back to the bridge method. It's like everything is happening because that's just the way life is. It just happens. But it's you that decides in that moment what you're gonna make it mean.
yeah,
Um
and it's how we unconsciously anchor to certain things. Like,
mhm,
for example, like society has taught us that Monday is shit,
aha,
right? It's like,
because
so 90% of people walk around with this unconscious anchor that Monday is horrible. I fucking
mhm.
love Mondays personally.
I
Like,
love Monday too. I
I
love
love
it.
Mondays.
It's like a new
Yeah,
year. That's the way I
yeah.
like it too.
That's the way I look at it too. Every Monday, I'm like
It's a new
I
start.
spend my entire Sunday getting myself organized for Monday because I'm so excited about Mondays, right?
Mm,
And people look at me like I'm nuts, right? Why would you spend your whole Sunday organizing so much? And I'm like, yeah, but if I do that, I actually get my whole week to do whatever the fuck I want, right?
uh-huh.
And like that's where people miss. Like they're so conditioned to this world that societal standards have created for them, right?
Hmm.
Like you said, like the traffic lights, the road rage, the spilling your coffee, all of this is society's way of conditioning you to stay unhappy, right? When we're unhappy, we distract, we unconsciously sabotage, we keep ourselves in these loops of like, you think about it. When you're unhappy, what do? The first thing you want is you want that dopamine hit. Let's go to
Uh-huh.
fast food, let's have like watch porn, let's fucking go gambling, let's go, you
Drinking
name it,
alcohol,
drinking
stuffing it
alcohol.
down.
Yeah, all of this stuff. And if you look at actually what's underneath that and the companies that run these kinds of programs that keep like alive, like, you can't tell me that those people are here for the greater good of the planet, right?
Uh-huh.
And all that sort of stuff. But whenever people are in a theta brainwave, and I'll say this, right? A hypnotic state where whatever the world gives them, they will play into and anchor to, they're going to continuously have these problems, right?
Hmm.
Because their power is outside of themselves.
So good, so good,
Mm,
so relevant as well. It's yeah, it's an interesting thing. Again, same. If I was to ask, everybody I know, uh, well, not everybody, but whoever says, once it's raining out, it's miserable. Um,
mm,
will I take all the rainy days out of your life and give them back? So let's say somebody who's 60 or 70 or whatever their age is.
yeah.
Like in Ireland, it rains all the fucking time. Here, and like it rains here too a lot. I was up
Mm,
in Mullabimby and it rained for most of my time there. Now, I love the rain as well. I
yeah.
love it. It brings a calmness to me. Anything to do with water, I've got a
Yeah.
deep, deep level of connection with that. Um,
Mm.
so I,
But see that though, Darragh, like that there is the fact that you're allowing yourself to create your own meaning with it. Like I'm
mm-hmm,
exactly the same. When the rain comes, I feel it literally take anything that was of tension away,
mm-hmm,
and that's because of the connection to earth, to the cyclic nature. Like you think about water, it's there to cleanse.
so good.
Yet society has taught us it's there to make us feel shit.
Yeah, and as you say that, something just downloaded. The kids' cartoons, we've censored the
Yeah.
shit out of them. With fear, there's like this fucking fella there, Baby John, and some of the stuff. It's like, what did he just say? And you like rewind that for a second, like ban that. That has to
Yeah.
go. No more YouTube X, Y, and Z. Because we I heard it. I recognize these little um subtle programs that they're targeting children with, and this is what causes kids to act out. In certain
Mm.
situations,
Yeah. We've got
vegetables are
one
horrible.
show. Yeah, we've got one show that my kids can my kids, I
What's
say my kid, my one
yeah?
kid.
Well, yeah,
Right.
your other kid as well. You have him in nappies too,
Yeah.
I bet.
He's all right. But we watched Takaro Tribe, which is a Māori program, and it's
hmm
where they teach English and Māori together.
Oh
And
wow!
yeah, it's like the only reason why he's allowed to watch that show is because it's unconscious and binding the languages for him together to grow up with two languages. Like,
Wow, that's deadly.
I'm studying the language myself as well, but it's one of those things where, like, yeah, we're the same. Like, you've got to filter the absolute crap
Uh-huh,
out of it. Like,
uh-huh.
I was watching Toy Story the other day. I just had it on the background while I was doing some stuff. And even just the sexual comments that Woody makes to Bo Peep, you're like, wow, like it's so fucking deep. Like I was like, okay, all
All
right.
right, all right. Yeah, it's so funny. I actually love the some of them movies, and I'll be watching. Fiat loves what's the name, Madagascar,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
they're good fun. Do you know what I mean? I'm glad that she likes them type of ones.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
they're awesome.
yeah, they're good fun. But what I'm bringing it back to the rain thing. There's I think it's Coco Melon or something. But that song, that
Yeah,
lullaby, rain, rain, go away, come
yeah.
again another day. But you know what I mean? Like that's for their young brains being taught at that level. Like some people, full respect
Mm,
to everybody, but some people don't see anything wrong with that. For me, again, wrong and right is relative to what your belief system is. But for me, um, it's like, no, I don't want Fia to believe that rain is a problem. She's
yeah,
only
yeah,
3
100%.
now. So when
She's
she's
learning to
looking out,
embrace
going,
all
and
of
then
the
singing that,
elements.
and which brings me into a note I took from something you said earlier, the importance of conscious parenting. So
Mm,
this is a great segue into that, and protecting their brain from those type of programs that are
100%.
ultimately designed to shape their reality and how they live life moving
It's
forward.
Yeah, the one thing that I consciously find myself picking myself up on, and like, look, I'm no saint. I'm still learning in this as well, right? Like,
Hmm.
but the one thing that I
Same.
have to constantly grab myself from saying is the good boy, right? Like, when
Uh,
he's done something, I'm like, I don't say it all the time, but if I catch myself saying it, I'm like, oh, like, no, thank you. And it's just like, it's really presencing like if he does something for me, thank you, I appreciate you, rather than oh, good boy. Like, this is how we're
Yeah,
training
wow.
people to be fucking people pleasers, right? You
Yeah,
do this for
yeah.
me, then you are good. And I didn't even realize just how deeply it went until I became a mother. And I remember um, when like I was going to give birth with him, and him and like Abane and myself, we had decided that we were the only two people to be present at his birth, apart from the midwife. And my mum was like, "How dare you? How dare you not let me in the room?" And all this, and I was like, she goes, "I am your mother," and I was like, "And I am his mother." Like, that was my exact
Mm,
words. I was like, this is where I'm
chills.
changing the generational fucking cycles. And she was like, whoa,
Ah.
like, and it took her a couple like days to get over it. Like, and I was like, look, this is actually not about you. This is not that I don't want you in his life. I do.
Mhm,
100%. I want you in every space. But when
mhm,
he first walks in, he's going to experience the love that my father and I have for him. No
mhm,
pressure from no one to see him, to hold him, to be he's just going to have time with us. And we spent
mm,
the first 24 hours, he was skin to skin with either one of us, right? And if you look back in the culture, like way, way, way back, like this is what they did years ago, right? And I look at, I look at children now and I see their parents, and it's like the mother is the only one who can do certain things and most things. And
mhm,
just that 24 hours where we shared the load of, skin to skin. A bank can do anything except obviously breastfeed, right?
mhm,
But
mhm,
like, there's no, I want mommy or I want daddy. It's like, it's this even thing. And I firmly believe it came back to, we set the standard of really like him that space evenly, and you know deciding consciously as a parent, like as a unit, as a family unit, that we were going to bring his first couple of days into the world just in pure love, just in him. Like,
beautiful.
yeah, it's just crazy, right?
Yeah, and you know what? As you were speaking again, something dropped in for me, which is something that been speaking about for a long time now. Because first of all, the importance of that, that first 24 hours and the love and the skin to skin and the baby being, Bubs, baby, whatever, uh, Tariki in your case, being
Mm.
supported by both parents. Can you
Mm.
firstly just speak about the importance of that on a deeper
Yeah,
level?
yeah, definitely. And like, the one thing I really want to presence here too is like the first interaction that your baby will ever have with the masculine or feminine energy is the parents,
Hmm.
right? And when a baby is from the age of 0 to 7, they are in the imprint phase. So that very first experience that they ever have with their parents, that is such a fucking fundamental time for that
Hmm.
child of whether he's accepted in this world, right? And you would not believe how many people I work with in hypnosis, when we go back to what was actually the time where they didn't feel worthy. It was during birth,
Hmm.
right? Because there was a moment of doubt from one of the parents and they fucking picked up on it. Babies like are so,
Energetically, yeah.
oh, they're so tapped in, right? They're like,
They're
they've not
conscious.
had any of,
They're spirit. Like
they're
and
pure
again, this
spirit.
is a part of like my huge respect for women. It's like men are great, fair enough, but women, like, they bring the connections from spirit world to here. It's like,
Mm,
and carrying a baby, nurturing a baby for 9 months, I believe. Sarah told me it's 10 months. It's
yeah,
really 10 months.
yeah,
She's a trained doula,
yeah,
but yeah, for what you guys do, it's like,
yeah.
because
It's,
I know I wouldn't be happy to carry a baby and push it out on me.
yeah. I tell you what, like, I'm so grateful
After
that,
so,
yeah, I'm so grateful that I had been in this work before stepping into motherhood,
oh
right?
yeah,
Because I
definitely.
was able
Same,
to,
same.
yeah. like I was really able to see on a different level. Like when he was born, I'm pretty sure, I can't remember exactly when I said it, but I know it was within those first couple of hours. I was like, what are you here to teach me? Right?
Yes, same.
Whereas most parents are like, I've got to teach them everything. And it's like, well, hold on a second. When did curiosity go out the window? When did
Mm-hmm.
like my partner, for example, he's so against jolly jumpers and walkers, right?
What's that? Oh
So the
yeah, the
jolly
thing
jumpers,
that
like
in
the,
the
the
room.
thing that,
Yeah, we
yeah,
don't have them either.
no,
We
we
don't
don't have,
have just now the stairs and all that. Our stairs are left open. Like Bodie
yeah.
actually fell down them earlier on today. But
Oh,
we just leave them like it's
yeah.
all a learning. Everything's yeah,
It's to
everything's
learn, right?
built.
But the reason why we don't have them is because the studies that have come out from
Yeah.
years and years and years of people being in these jolly jumpers is that it ruins the muscles in their foot. It hurts, like it ruins the calf, like structure of their calves because they're constantly bouncing, and like the hip structure because their body is not supported through strength. It's support, like it's like if you think
Yeah,
of how
yeah.
your body feels when you're like tied in a
Strapped
harness
up. Yeah, yeah.
and you're putting a baby in that all the time, like, and then their body's growing and forming through that. Like, so we're quite like really, we're quite aware of what our baby's doing. And everyone comes over and they're like, oh, why don't you just get him a walker? Why don't you just do this? And we're like, look how strong he is.
Mm-hmm.
Like he's pulling himself up.
Exactly.
Like he's,
Exactly.
yeah.
Like,
And he is so switched on. Like I gave him his first bit of formula only last night purely because I was no longer getting enough milk for him.
huh?
And it was just crazy, like, the amount of, like, I had all the things come up with it because I was just like, I didn't wanna be that mother who gave formula, because we're just against formula in a sense, but I was like,
Mm-hmm.
it's either my baby doesn't get enough or I have to do something, so we searched high and low for one that didn't have all the crap that's in it, and we ended up getting quite a good organic one, but
Uh-huh.
still,
I know
there's
one as well if you want. There was one
yeah,
that
if you could send it through to me.
yeah, yeah, it's incredible. They
What brand
actually
is it?
approached me to be it's called A plus to be an
Oh, yeah.
investor to buy shares.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. I think
Um,
I've seen that one.
but it's
Yeah.
just I'll tell you more details on that off this. But go ahead.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, no, we're using the Bellamy's at the moment. Like we literally went through the
Yeah,
back of,
we so
yeah,
just
of,
before you go any further, that's what we
yeah,
used as well. And
yeah,
because of this this investment opportunity, they
yeah,
brought up all of the scientific the scientific breakdown of the
yeah,
difference in them, like the
yeah,
difference in the formulas and how long they're pasteurized, where the milk comes from, how it's dried up, where it comes, like how it's delivered, how long it's
mhm,
stored for, and by the time it actually gets to the consumer.
yeah,
And
yeah.
that one there didn't show up really good, and we
Oh,
used
really?
that the whole
Yeah,
time. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
Although it says organic, um,
yeah,
I have all of that information in an email. I'll send it on to you.
yeah. That would be great if you could send that through.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, it's just crazy, like the stories that come up in your mind because we literally were like, he's an organic baby. We eat organic food. He's had breast milk pretty much his whole life apart from one day now. And then even today, like
You're a bad parent.
today we went out and we actually bought that. I don't know if you've heard of it, but that Cleopatra's bath milk. So it's just pure milk straight from the cow. It's had no pasteurization, no
Hmm.
filters, no nothing. It's just pure cow's milk. And the only way
Hmm.
that they can sell it is by calling it bath milk because legally otherwise it's considered like unhygienic and all these things, but it's got the good microbiome still in it. It's got all the stuff that
Mm.
the babies actually
Hmm.
need. So yeah, it's interesting. It's just
Yeah.
interesting. And
Um.
we've go
Go
on,
ahead.
sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, like, we're now like we're just trialing different things just to see in a way where we can bring it in powerfully because we've tried the goat's milk, we've tried other things that are all
Yeah.
natural, and it's
So.
just interesting how, like, one thing I'll say just quickly is like conscious parenting, it's not so much about how you're doing it right or wrong. It's like, are you actually investigating how you can best serve your child? Like,
So
and
good.
actually serve the child, not your fucking ego, right? Because the thing is, parents, because we think we know it all and we've lived longer and we've all got this thing, there's this attachment that we have to parenting that, if my baby is this, then, that has an impact on me of who I am. And it's like, well, hold on a second. Can you put your ego aside for a second and do what's best for the child in this moment right now? And that's one thing that I've really, really had to deeply sit in and really learn how to work with. So, yeah.
And just this is not a question. I'm just going to add it in there as well. In regards to all these brands and everything, even the organic and the the healthy industry, and
Mm.
it like a lot of the time it's not what it says on the tin type of thing.
Yeah, yeah.
Like
Totally. Yeah.
so just being aware of that, and also in regards to you going from breast milk and giving them a bottle last night because of the dry up what's going on in your
Mm.
body. But there's also Blaze, which is who was my mentor, Blaze Grinner. I'll give him a shout out on here. Helped me to see as well because of how I was being with the world situation, and you know also when you look at our life, look at now. We
Mm.
I wouldn't be here doing what I'm doing without experiencing the trauma that I experienced through it.
Oh,
Like,
100%.
you know, so
We
so
we had this conversation last night, actually, my partner and and I was having a big meltdown. I was crying about breast milk, and I didn't want to
Saoirse
give
was
him
the
formula.
same. Saoirse was the
Yeah, like
same.
this not wanting to give him formula brought every fucking thing up, right? Like I was fully in my shit. And at the end of it, Bane's like, so what's really going on, babe? Like, what's really here? And I'm like, I just don't want him to have the childhood I had. And he looks at me and goes, yeah, but we turned out all right, didn't we? And I was like,
Yeah.
not fucking smart, Bane. Like that was my response to him. And he's just like, oh my God. Like I was just like, not appropriate at the time, but in hindsight, like he really did have
Yeah,
a point,
he
right?
was
Like
on the money,
resiliency is
man.
built. Yeah.
Yeah.
Resiliency is built through hardship.
Yeah. Again, it's like it's not when you're winning that you learn, it's when you're losing. And it's the same.
I
It's
love
when
that.
it's yeah, we could a helicopter parent. That's what I like, go and do what you're doing, kid. I'm not here
Yeah.
to enforce my way on it unless you're actually walking off a cliff. I'll
Yeah.
grab you. I'm not a fucking great, like
Yeah.
100%. What would you say? I'm
Mm,
not a perfect parent either, because I still
mm.
get a little like fear is at the moment. She's in this, I want something yesterday, like daddy, 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 daddy," and doesn't stop until you answer her. It's like, or in the car, she's like, "Mommy, don't talk to daddy. Stop talking." Or like, and then if we talk, she's like, "Stop it, stop it, stop it, stop it, stop it, stop it." Like, you'll go out the window in a minute. But yeah, so it's funny, it's really interesting. So in regards to being the helicopter parent and the likes of other people have it differently. We don't have that. Even with fear, we put it up for like a few days and decided to take it away. And she
I think
never.
that I think at the end of the day, though, children, like, they literally behave what they witness, right? Like
Mhm,
they become the byproduct of what they're seeing, feeling, experiencing at home. So if they're seeing, like for example, you see these kids who just lash out, and it's like, hold on a second. I
mhm,
understand a child can have a tantrum. I do get that. But if they're just hitting their mum and they're like doing things like, where did they learn this kind of behavior? Where did they
mm,
actually believe that that was okay? And like I do understand that kids do slap and they do muck around, they do hit and they do things like that, but like when they're getting to the age of like 5 and 6 and 7 and they're still doing these kind of
mhm,
things, like it's like, okay, like let's look at the actual household. Like if you've got a parent that's screaming at, like a mum who's screaming at the dad, the child's going to scream at other kids. Like
yeah, yeah, I see,
you
I
know
see.
it's this modeling that they just do unconsciously.
Yeah, and just to bring it back again to the importance of the 24 hours skin on skin, and both parents being there, both like in your most powerful, like the importance of. I mean, do I really need to explain the importance of childbirth? and everybody
Oh,
being present that are there, and
I
just
just can I add in
yeah,
there too though, like the importance of the microbiome from both bodies, like the
uh-huh,
skin to skin.
yeah,
Um, Scientifically, like let's not just fucking go like on a primitive level. Let's go like scientifically, it boosts the
uh-huh,
child's immune system
yeah,
like so
exactly.
much. Creates that feeling of safety, like their whole nervous system depletes. Like they've just ran a marathon coming out of out of the
Mm-hmm.
womb, like
Mm-hmm.
and then to give them that security, and especially for those who have had, the fathers who have been present through the whole pregnancy, like I'm sure if there's women listening, like when the dad gets home, like the baby goes nuts. Like they know that they're safe and secure because the mum also relaxes in those moments. So it's
Mm, so
all of it's
good.
connected. So
And that's
connected.
I love, the energetics. There's no, it's the same like you can read energy. I can feel it, as an empath, and it's like the baby feels it. They feel all of it. So even when the baby's in the womb, whatever's going on in your house, they feel
Oh
that,
yeah.
and it lands in there. But what I want to come to is, the system, this system, because
Oh
in Ireland,
yeah. Yeah.
they banned fathers from being present for I think they talked about it here. I don't believe it ever went that far.
Wait, what? Just recently?
Yeah, so fathers not being allowed to be present for the birth of their
Is
child.
this because of all the stuff?
Yes, yes.
Oh
So
wow.
in Ireland, I've had a bunch of friends where they weren't allowed in until, the partner was like 8 centimeters, six,
Oh
seven,
my
eight
god.
centimeters, and that's whatever amount of hours. So we're not allowed to go to the checkups. We're not allowed to be in the hospital at all. Like literally, like we're not allowed to be. And for me, the pattern I see there is, both of my brothers are born, and their father wasn't allowed to be present, which was the
Mm,
rules of the church, you know.
mhm,
And that was
mm.
like decades ago, and now today, these are the rules again. So it's y- like, from what I can see, this is a direct attack on the family home.
Oh, 100%. And all I think of, like, the minute you started saying that, was like my stomach just churned. Like, the trauma that these
Mm,
young children will have to face later on, um, purely through, like, and I'm just going to say it, like, they can't read fucking emotions on people's faces at the moment because of all this mask crap, right? Like,
mm,
and there's already studies that have come out that have said that IQs have now lowered up to 20% in some children
uh-huh.
because they are not receiving the intellectual data that they need to actually learn, right? And like this is something that we get to speak about as a like society, because at the end of the day, like if we just run around thinking that this is okay and for our children to just constantly be literally bullied into thinking this stuff is normal, like
Mm-hmm.
I had to wear a mask the other week, and I'm completely against them, like
Mm-hmm.
fully against them. And I had to get I had to go to a rheumatoid specialist because I've got some things going on with my bones and my body. And anyway, they wouldn't see me like unless I wore this mask. And I was
Mm,
like, all right, I'll wear the motherfucking mask. Like that was my thing. But because I wasn't, they made me wait outside the surgery like I was a dog. And I just thought to
wow.
myself, I was like, this is where humanity's come to. And I know I've got some really strong beliefs on it, but I'm actually pro-choice, right?
Uh-huh.
Like
Uh-huh.
I actually don't care what anyone chooses.
Mm-hmm.
However, if it comes to the point where you're going to judge me for my choice, this is when
Mm-hmm.
it gets personal. This is where, like, if you're starting to put a thought process in my child's brain that he is not welcome
It's not good
because
enough, yeah.
he's not good enough, because, his parents haven't been, whatever. This is where, we're looking down the road of what happened in the 1930s and, the
Mm-hmm.
early 20s, all those things. And, until we start actually waking up, and I don't like the terminology wake up. I really thought it was overemphasized when the spiritual community started coming in, but now it's fucking necessary. And
Mm-hmm.
when it comes to my child and being a stand for the world that he lives in the future, I'm gonna get real passionate about it because, like, this stuff, had I not been a mother, probably wouldn't have affected me so much.
Mm-hmm.
But, when it comes to the point where, like, my doula couldn't come in Australia because of the laws that happen,
Yeah,
um,
yeah.
when he was born, and that was hard enough, let alone, you know, the partner.
Mm,
Like,
yeah.
not to mention what happens to the baby here,
Mm-hmm.
the mother. She's
Yes.
lost her support. She's
Uh-huh.
lost her person.
Mm-hmm.
That there, let's talk about like coming back to the fucking somatic response in the body. That's already heightening her nervous system beyond like craziness. Like she's already in a state where her body's literally, you know, doing its thing. It is
And
already in
shock
such a
and
primal state.
yeah.
Yeah. And yeah, look, I've got some really strong opinions when it comes to this stuff. And I just think at
Yeah.
the end of the day, I'm like, when do we get to come back to humanity and the
Each
love
other and the
and the
love
connection?
and the
Yeah.
connection and the community. At the end of the day, again, I've got full respect to whatever anybody's choices are. But
Yeah, I'm the
to
same.
ostracize and exclude other people based on theirs, I don't agree with. And also, it's the other. But
Mm.
in reality, like we are all the one. At the end of the day, it affects us all the same. But
Yeah.
it's only when we get in community, like, and support each other that we can actually, overcome what's happening. Because one of our good friends who's here, her niece, um, in school the other day in school. So the school teachers it's in Dublin, and the school teacher, at roll call in the morning, gave all the kids that had a mask. Thanks to all the kids who had a mask, who's wearing a mask now. And for the other kids, like, just sort of snarl and made it, like, cheeky, basically directing his comments at them without saying it.
Mm. Yeah,
Um,
that's
a-
gross.
and her niece is 8 years of age. 8 years of age. Um,
Yeah.
and I made a video about this, and then another girl who, uh, like a woman, emailed me about a daughter, or maybe it was a son. But what was his? He has, I don't know if it was autism. I can't remember. But he can't have things on his. I think it is autism.
Yeah,
He
yeah.
can't have things covering his mouth. But at the end of the day, they get a gold star if they wear a
Mm.
mask, and he doesn't want to be seen as the other. So he goes through this horrible trauma all day for 8 hours a day just to get this gold star. Um, and like, I made a video about it, like, just in my stories. I was upset. I was really upset. I
Mhm.
promised I wouldn't talk about, like, unless I'm not afraid of talking about it, but I was upset. And just now it's like, on a human level, are we really okay? So what happened then after that was the 8-year-old got bullied by all the other students, and the other kids that weren't wearing masks got bullied. So here's an adult, a
That
fucking
started it.
adult, who gaslit a primary school set of students.
Mm.
And he fucking knew what he was doing. We work in psychology. This is what,
Yeah.
so he turned them into the targets. And she was like traumatized. She was like roaring and crying. The mother had to come along and get her out there. And, she wrote a note like, "Oh, bless her little cotton socks." Her letter she wrote, and it explained what happened in the day. And she's like, I went in, I got here first, and I had all my pencils, and, like, she literally, and then people start bullying me because I didn't have a mask. Like, she's eight
Mm.
years of age. So it's
Mm.
like, for everybody who, like, both, I don't want to say it's sides, because we're all the same side at the end of the
Mm.
day. But, whatever your choice is on this side and whatever your choice is over there, on a
Mm.
human level, um, you know, when does that become like not okay? Like
Yeah.
when do we come back to who we really are, you
Well,
know?
the thing that amazed me was when it started getting to the point where people wouldn't go to their families' houses.
Mm-hmm.
And, like I've seen so much of that over the Christmas break. And I was just like, you know, you can have your beliefs all you want, but at the end of the day, when this moves, when this passes, that still will be there.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That heartbreak, that way that you treated that person, no matter what the outcome is, 5, 10 years from now, if you're an asshole to someone because of the choice they made, I don't care what side of the fence you are on. If you're the person who is shaming the person who for their work, you're the asshole in this situation. If you're the
Mm-hmm.
person who's shaming the person who's, you're the asshole. Like, there are so many different assholes in this way and the way it's playing out. Like, no one's right or wrong here. But if
Mm-hmm.
you're in that space where you are shaming someone for their choice and you are not allowing someone freedom in their own life to choose, and you are making it your righteousness because of your life and your safety that they have to be a certain way, then this is the stuff that you are going to have to deal with when all of this passes. And
Mm-hmm.
I cannot stress it enough. Like, I had a run in with a coffee club, like a little coffee shop here, because they kicked me out of their shop because I wasn't wearing a mask. They asked me, I was like, no, I'm not. And they're like, oh no, sorry, it wasn't about that. They said, do you have a mask? I said, no, I have an exemption. And they're like, do you have it with you? And I was like, no. Right.
Mm-hmm.
I walked up to get the coffee. I ordered the coffee. I'd given him his money, and he looked at me and goes, now go wait outside.
Ah.
And there was another woman waiting for her coffee inside. And I looked at him and I've gone, excuse me. And he goes, oh, if it's takeaway, you have to wait outside. Anyway, she followed me out and she was like, that was incredibly rude. I'm so sorry that just happened to you. And I called him outside and I just said, you're a small business owner. This is the stuff that people are going to remember. This is the stuff that's going to put you out of business. It's not how you treat your people when, you've only got limited seats you can fill right now. But those ones that come in for the takeaway, those ones that keep your fucking bills being paid, these are the people that are going to remember you. And I quoted the acts and I was like, go and look up these acts. So what you just did was highly fucking illegal. I was like, it was discrimination. It was all the things. I said, so like, it was, I full on went on a rant. I like literally just got out of like reading acts of like privacy and all this stuff right before I walked into this coffee shop. And I was like, oh, universe just handed this to me for this person. But yeah, the owner ends up calling me the next day and being like, I'm so incredibly sorry that happened for you. And I was just like, what that owner did, that was humility. What the
Yes.
person working there did, just because I said to him, I didn't have to show him my thing, like my status. His ego got the better of him and just started being an asshole.
Yeah. And
And
you
I was
know
like,
what? Yeah, it's like, and it's not even, it's just, it's really, I'm looking forward to getting on the other side of it, and people are
oh,
becoming
same,
aware of it more and more every day.
same,
Momentum has
same.
taken over. So, yeah, I mean,
It's
yeah,
interesting time.
it's really interesting. And again, we chose to be here in this moment, in this time. Our kids chose to come here. So, it's all going to be all right.
I definitely believe that the children, like, just to completely move off this topic because it is
Yeah.
such a heavy topic, but I definitely believe the children that are coming through now, like, you only have to look at the children. You can see the difference in their energy. They are the brightest little beings, like, and I don't know if I'm just noticing it now because I'm a mother, but like, the other day I was sitting there with Tiariki and he's literally looking above my head, cracking up laughing, like straight above. And I'm like, what are you seeing? Like, are you seeing spirit above my head? Like, you're looking at my crown, like what's going on here? But they are tapped in, hey, and
Yeah.
I'm really excited for the future. Like, I really am, because I do feel that there is so much to come from this, like, in such a
Definitely.
big way. Yeah. And I'm just,
Definitely.
Yeah.
Nature always corrects, and love and consciousness. There's one thing
Mm.
that can't be controlled, and that's the human consciousness. And once you've elevated your personal consciousness,
Yeah.
one of my clients in her testimonial was brilliant. She what did she say? Once you become conscious a bit, what was it? Once you become conscious, yeah, like I'm probably paraphrasing, but basically, once you awaken to your consciousness,
Mm.
like there's no putting it back.
Yeah, you can't
Once
unknow this
you
stuff.
can't,
Like,
yeah, yeah, and it's not even this stuff; it's your own like awareness.
I
It's
remember
your,
that time when I was like, probably 6 months into my journey. I'm just being mindful of time here as well. But
yeah.
I remember thinking, I just want to go back before I knew all this shit.
I
I'm
just
like,
be
I don't want
happier
to be
now
conscious
down in the
anymore.
bubble.
Yeah, I was like, I just wish I didn't know what I knew now. Like, obviously now it's completely different. I'm very grateful, but oh,
Mm.
like that moment was hard.
Yeah, and it's just again, it's like it's as you say, yeah, like full transparency. There's sometimes where it's like when you can see certain things, like both energetically and then from a different lens and perspective. It's like because it's heavy.
Mm,
I was in. Oh, you weren't in there. So when in the Kaboom leadership group, with
mm,
all the coaches and everybody, I had a breakdown. And I
right.
decided to record it and put it on my social media because, you know, without having to go back into that subject, but there was a part of me that, this fear, because I could see what was happening. There was a fear there for me of, under what circumstances would I see my family? What the next
Mm,
time I see them, under what circumstances? And that was
yeah.
because again, you could energetically feel and see, and from a different perspective, and I found that very heavy, and eventually it broke me, and I broke
Yeah.
down, and it was beautiful. So I
Yeah.
decided to share it and put it out there because, sometimes it's like you'd rather not, but then
Mm.
on the other side of that, it's like nah, fuck that, because we get to create the future we live in. So Casey, again, I because we chatted at the start, I don't actually know what time we started at, but
I think we started about 90 minutes ago. You
bang
and I
on.
can just keep talking. So,
Yes, yes. So, I just want to say thank you. I'm just trying to remember, is there anything I'm missing here? Like, yeah, no, I think I've covered everything. I just want to thank you for your time,
well,
your contribution to the world, and femininity and humanity, and that little incredibly gorgeous and cute little pork chop that you got. I won't call him a pork chop. What was that? Meatball, not meatball, not attached to me, but all the rolls. It's got all the little rolls and all on them. So, um,
yeah.
the marshmallow man, the little marshmallow man that you got going over there. So, Casey, I finish out with the same question for all of my guests,
Yeah.
and that is, what does the waves of change mean to you?
I think in truth, it's just like if you look at a wave, like you may see what's on top as, it could be beautiful, it could be messy, it could be whatever, but it's actually the underneath that creates the corrosion and actually creates life and creates the new path. So for me, it's more the what's beneath the surface than what's on top. And if you can allow yourself just to be with, you know, not everything has to look pretty on the top because underneath it's going to create a beautiful landscape, then, you know, you're going to be able to allow yourself to accept change and create something new.
Stop it. I fucking love this. Oh my, everyone has a different perspective, and it's just like, ah.
Really, you're just trying to get us to do the marketing for you, aren't you?
Ah, probably, but look at now, it's incredible to hear it from a different perspective, each different person, because the answers have carry some huge depth of wisdom and knowledge,
Mm.
and yeah, it's moving. Like really, it moves me inside. I think I'm gonna make a compilation of them, so
Mm.
people can hear them without having to listen to the podcast. But
Yeah.
the level of wisdom that they carry for all areas of life, it's really
Mm.
heartwarming, and optimistic for the future that we get to live in.
Yeah, yeah. I
So,
think there's something that's just coming through with that as well. It's like, if you try and control a wave, like you will get fucked around. Like
mhm,
it will fuck you up. Whereas you need to learn how to flow with it. Like that's the thing
yeah.
that's really like just landing. Like you need to let it move you, not you move it.
Ah, there we
Yeah.
go. Perfect. Casey,
Yeah.
thank you very much for your time. Give
Thank
my
you.
love to Urbane and the
I
little
will.
man. And yeah, all the love to you as well. Thank you.
Thank you, brother. Appreciate you.
Bye. Bye bye. Thanks for listening. I hope you enjoyed the podcast. If anything resonated for you, please leave a comment below. If there's anyone who may need to hear, please share. I love this. Have a lovely day.